This is Carl Eller, and you're watching the One Bar and Lepagas show.
All right, welcome back to the One Bar and Lepagas show. I'm One Bar, and it's mailbag time. Mailbag time. A lot of Vikings questions out there.
Yeah, I haven't really been keeping close eye on it, but every time I look, there's always a new question. So I feel like we have about 30 to answer today, so we better get after it right now.
Nah, there's not a ton. Remember, subscribe, like the video. Let's get to 4,500 subs. Let's do this. I could smell it.
I think we're, two, 3 away from getting our 50 Patreons that we want so bad. $2 a month, guys. Come on.
Patreon page. Hit up the link down in the description, just like we're going to hit up these wonderful questions. And starting off with a goodie. Out of all the subscribers, who would you trust the most to be the next Vikings head coach?
Of all the subscribers. Wow.
Love this question.
Man, I think I have to go with Patrick Harms just because I feel like his takes are pretty close to ours. There's nothing too far-fetched with that guy. And I also think he could be a very, very big intimidator. I could see him just going off the handle and scaring people into playing well. So I'm going to go Patrick Harms.
Hey, you say that he's I mean, he's done videos where he's been on the crapper. He's got all his marbles. But yes, I like it.
I didn't say any of his marbles. I said I agree with his takes.
I got a couple of thoughts here. I got a couple of options. And the first one that stuck out was Ellis Gregor.
Yeah.
I think Ellis Gregor would be a little too old school and would sign every free agent Bison out there. Yeah. So I think that would be a very bad move. I see SSM Creations as the young and up and coming star, but he's just too fresh. He's not wet yet, as they say. So I actually went with Patrick Harms as well. I went with Patrick Harms strictly because he is nuts. He's crazy. And I think he'd be in the mold of a Mike Tice, Dan Campbell, just say some really weird shit and do weird shit. At least it'd be entertaining.
He's a guy you want to play for, and I agree. I also thought of Ellis Gregor as well, and I just thought there would be too many Bisons on his team or too much Bison favoritism to really put together a strong roster. And SSM Creations did float across my mind, but a couple of his D.D. Westbrook takes I'm just not on board with. So
let's be clear, though. Montemita would be our special teams coach, and he would
for sure.
Hell of a job. All right, next up, if the Vikings draft a quarterback in the 2022 first round, will we try to trade Kellen Monde?
I don't know. You want to start on this one? Why don't you start?
No, I don't think there's any way in hell they would trade him. They wouldn't get anything for him. He's never even been active. Why is it? I mean, what are we gonna get for him? Nothing. So I don't, not even an option.
No, I'd like to have him stick around and keep developing. You never know what's going to happen. Look at Kirk Cousins and RGIII. Cousins a 4th round pick. RGIII, what was he, a top 2 pick that year? Cousins end up being the better player. You never know how these things are going to shake out, how these guys are going to develop. And I'd love to see the Vikings actually grow their own. If Kellen Monde is just a backup quarterback in this league, I want to see him develop on the Vikings and be that guy. So keep him around. Why not?
Did you say that Kirk Cousins is better than RG3?
Yeah.
Say healthier. I wouldn't say better. I mean, his injury ruined his career.
He's better. Much better career.
Well, he didn't have a career.
He had a much better career, much better value.
This is now the RG3 Kirk Cousins show.
He panned out. RG3 didn't. I don't know why you're even arguing this. Makes no sense. I'm just saying it.
Whatever. All right, Kellen Monde. We got another Kellen Monde one too. Let me go to that. What do you think the plans are for Kellen Monde? And you just said it. Mold him in, possible backup. Who knows what happens? But I don't think there's any big scheme around him at this point being a starting quarterback for the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, it depends who's going to come in here, who's the new coach, if there's a new GM or not. I think that has a long way of going to Kellen Monde's future. I mean, he's either going to be a guy that they're going to look at as a backup or he's going to fight for a roster spot depending on the coach.
Let's see. What would the Vikings get if they traded Danielle Hunter? Do you think they would get more than the Broncos got for Von Miller?
Did they include what that compensation was? Was it like a 1st and a 4th? I don't exactly.
Von Miller was a 2nd and a 3rd.
2nd and a 3rd. If you move to Danielle Hunter, you better get a 1st round pick for him. I don't care. I know he's had some injuries, but damn it, he's so damn good. He's still pretty young. What, 28-ish, I believe, somewhere in there. So I'd want at least a 1st round pick, maybe a late like 5th or something where you're flipping or something to wherever you get a higher pick, one of those kind of deals. But I want at least a 1st rounder.
That's the thing. We would want a first rounder. The big question is, would we get a first rounder?
I'd
Von Miller,
hold out for
5 years older than Daniil Hunter, and they got a second and third. But I compare this one to Ngakoue. Ngakoue was even younger at this point, putting up similar numbers to Hunter. And Hunter is now 27. Ngakoue, when we traded for him, I think it was like 24. So, and we only got a second. What did we give up? A second and a fifth?
No, he was also in the middle of a holdout too. So I think that's that factor.
But
if Hunter's holding out, creating a stink, and things are ugly, they may take less. But right now, I'm holding out for at least a first rounder.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I would love a first rounder. I just don't think it would happen.
You gotta play hardball.
What's that?
You gotta play hardball.
Got to play hardball. Well, if we're trading him, that means Daniil Hunter's probably forcing his way out. So I don't know how much leverage we'd have. I don't think they willingly trade that guy. If you had to make one move to save this Vikings franchise, what would it be?
I think it's your start, your serve.
Well, I'd love to say there's one move to save this franchise, but there isn't. I mean, there's no one single move you can do. I would just say, I'm assuming he's saying that we're the GM. We get to do something. And I would just make the call and say, gut it, just gut it all. Save a very couple of key components that we know, but let's just start it. So probably not a very popular answer, but.
Oh, I completely disagree. I don't think you have to gut this roster. I think the one move you need is a new coach. You need a new head coach, a guy who can motivate, a guy who can adjust to today's NFL, can scheme better, has better in-game management. I think this roster is good enough to win. Yeah, there's some aging pieces, there's some holes. I don't think you got to gut this thing. You got a young O-line. You look at left tackle set. You got left guard.
I'm not talking about the young. I'm not talking about Brian O'Neill or Darisaw.
There's enough good players, enough talent on this roster to compete. I think you just need the right guy in charge, and he's not there right now. So me, the one move, making one move, it's a new coach.
Well, I think the defense is going to gut itself next year with free agency, so that's already done. I like it. What do we got? Would you rather they barely sneak into the playoffs and get their ass kicked, or let it go and get a higher draft pick?
I mean, we're definitely going to lose the first round. I mean, we know that's the outcome. We know this. That's I think I would still I'd still rather get to playoffs and have some success. Here's the thing: you look at these guys when they're drafted. I mean, guys are falling down the board farther than you think they were. Look at last year. We had the 14th pick. Quiddy Pay was a name that was around there. He ended up going 20-something. Darisaw, again, guy you sometimes saw inside top 10. He falls. You don't know where these guys are going to fall. And if it's a 6-pick difference, you maybe look at the same guy at 14 that you could at 20. So, hey, let's get in the playoffs. I know, see what happens, but I know he said we already lost. But I think I'd rather do that. I don't think it's going to hurt you that bad to get there at this point.
Yeah, I take the draft pick out of the consideration. I just don't want to go to the playoffs and get our ass kicked. If it was go to the playoffs and lose by 1, I'd be a little more into it. It was a close game, but if we get into the playoffs, it's going to be like 9-8, 8-9, something gross anyways. I'm letting it go. I'd rather just not make the playoffs. Let's see. Who would you cast as Greg Williams in the Sean Payton movie? Ellis Gregor saying he specifically was asked this question because you were bitching about that movie.
Horrible idea for a movie. What a shitty idea. I'll let you go first, but I know who I'm picking.
I thought about this one, and Greg Williams is the worst human. Hate the guy. I was trying to think of an actor that I just absolutely despise, and there's really not an actor that I just went with it. I just went with Gilbert Gottfried. Just annoying as shit. When he comes on, I don't want to watch it. So he would play him, and he'd play him damn good. Yeah,
Gilbert Gottfried, he definitely is somebody. I went with creative casting here, and I went with an actor that you're intimately familiar with. I'm going to go with Rosie O'Donnell, just because I think they look similar. You put a beard on Rosie O'Donnell, let her act her heart out being Greg Williams. And I think you got an Oscar contender right there. Rosie O'Donnell as Greg Williams.
That's a very interesting move. I like it. I think she could pull that off very well. Great in A League of Their Own. Great.
It was great, wasn't she?
A lot of people are saying Jefferson will want out if we do not make the playoffs. I think that's bullshit. What's your guys' opinion?
Yeah, I think it's also bullshit. I think Justin Jefferson, he likes it here. He's definitely one of the hot young names in the NFL, no matter where he plays. And I think, it's only year 2. Things will get better. So yeah, I don't think he's gonna start bitching to get out at this point. He's still getting plenty of targets, getting plenty of action every single game. he's having great numbers. He's having a great season. So I don't think he's going to leave, even though we're not winning.
Yeah, everything until he actually says it, it just sounds made up to me. So I'm not even going to think about Jefferson leaving until he actually says something or does something where it seems like he wants to get out. So I think we're just fine. A couple more here having to do with coaching. Which current player on the Vikings roster would you think would be a good future head coach at the college or NFL level?
I think it's your serve there, boss.
I look at the coaches that have been there. They're all backup quarterbacks. All coaches that have come in the league, even the successful ones. You don't see Dan Marino all of a sudden being a head coach. You don't see whoever, Joe Montana, with the backup quarterback that generally isn't very good, is usually the smartest. So I'm going Sean Mannion. You look at Jim Harbaugh, Frank Wright, Doug Peterson, Gary Kubiak, all successful coaches. Sean Mannion, the next successful head coach.
That's exactly where I was going to go as well with this question. Sean Manning, who's came, because otherwise, why else is he on this team? Supposedly, he's great holding the clipboard. He sees things. He tells Kirk Cousins.
He's got dirt on our front office.
Yeah, he sees things that no one else does. He helps Kirk Cousins out with, I don't know what the defense is doing. Suppose that's what they say, that he has this value. I don't understand it. You never seen him throw a pass. He hasn't thrown many, but he's also the guy I think has a future as a head coach. Otherwise, why the hell is he even on this team?
I still think he's got something on him. I think he tells him he'll play for any amount of money, just likes being around the boys.
That might be.
Boys.
But I'm shocked we had the same guy there.
Patrick Peterson was a distant second just because he's a leader on that field. People seem to love him, but
he's a teacher.
The teacher. Final one, Byron Leftwich or Brian Daboll, next Vikings head coach. Which one would you choose?
To me, it's a win-win. I'd be fine with either one of them. You're looking at, you got Leftwich working with the greatest quarterback of all time. So how much is on Tom Brady? How much is on him? But again, the way he uses him and the way he incorporates, he's got Leonard Fournette rolling out, which no one else seemed to be able to get out of what. No one else was able to get shit out of Leonard Fournette other than Byron Leftwich. I think there's definitely something to say about that.
Well, I bet shit comes out of Leonard Fournette every day, at least once a day.
Oh, I'm sure it does. Then you got Daboll working with the young quarterback, Josh Allen. He's really taking his game to the next level. So I can't pick. I'm fine with either one.
Oh, well, up against pleading the fifth here because he's a big Sally. I'm going Daboll easy. I mean, I like Leftwich. I think he's definitely going to be a coach in this league, but he's still young, but he's been coaching in the NFL since 2000. This dude's been around. He's been around the block. And the sole fact that he took Josh Allen, a pretty rough quarterback coming out of Wyoming, and made him one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. Not made him, but he had a lot to do with it. Gets me very excited because that is something the Vikings have not been able to do. So I'd take him just for that.
What I like what he did with Allen too. He didn't force him. He didn't put a round peg in a square hole. He used what Allen does best at and kind of honed that and made him the best player he can be. And I think that says a lot about what his coaching style could be. And Byron Leftwich doesn't fit the mold we were just talking about. He was a star quarterback. He ain't no backup. He had no future as a head coach.
Quarterback. Leftwich.
He was a star.
First, you said RG3 was a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins. No,
well, you said RG3 was a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins.
That's what I mean. I'm sorry. You said Cousins was better.
Yeah,
RG3. If he went to got injured, if he wouldn't have been injured, he was one of the best.
Playing shitty before he got injured. What are you talking about?
Injured in the playoff game that he led the Washington Redskins to.
No, he was cheeks.
We're gonna agree to disagree on this one. That is our mailbag. Our mailbag is officially empty. Thanks to everybody that always submits those questions. This is usually a pretty fun one. Remember, subscribe, like the video, hit up that Patreon link.
Hell yeah, don't forget that. And don't forget this. There's a village named Pussy in France. People who live there are referred to as pussies.